Number 8. Dodge Aries. Pull into any church lot, strip mall, elementary school pickup line in 1984, and there was a good chance a Dodge Aries was sitting in it. Beige, gray, or that particular shade of brown that seemed to exist only on K-cars, with a vinyl bench seat and a rattling 2.2-liter four-cylinder engine, or the smoking Mitsubishi 2.6 option doing exactly what it was supposed to do and nothing more. It was not a car anyone bragged about. It simply showed up every morning for years. The Aries was one half of the K-car platform, widely credited with saving the Chrysler Corporation from bankruptcy. A front-wheel drive compact built under intense financial pressure that left little room for styling flourishes the competition was still investing in. What it delivered was the basic promise of dependable transportation, reliable enough that families bought it in the numbers Chrysler needed. The 1984 Aries sedan, mid-cycle and representative of the model's long run, captures exactly what the K-car was built to do. The Aries is at number 8 because an entire generation rode in the back seat of one without ever knowing or caring what K-car meant. Number 7. Ford Taurus. If your father traded in his boxy old sedan sometime around 1987 and came home with something that looked, by comparison, like it had landed from outer space, there is a strong chance it was a Ford Taurus. The jelly bean smooth shape was unlike anything else on the road, and for a lot of American families, the day Dad parked the new Taurus in the driveway was the day the 1970s officially ended. The Taurus became an immediate sales success and one of the defining American cars of the late 1980s. A transverse-mounted V6, front-wheel drive, and an aerodynamic profile that virtually every competitor spent years trying to match. The 1988 Taurus GL, well into the model's successful run, represented the configuration most American families actually drove home, and the automatic transmission most mechanics spent their weekends replacing. The Taurus is at number 7 because it marked the exact moment American sedan design changed direction, and because so many Americans remember it as the car that made their family's old sedan suddenly look ancient. Number 6. Oldsmobile Cutlass Ciera. If your grandparents owned a sensible, slightly boxy Oldsmobile sedan in beige or maroon that just kept running year after year without complaint, there is a real chance it was a Cutlass Ciera, the car that quietly became one of the most common sights in American driveways for most of the decade, without ever once showing up in anyone's nostalgic highlight reel. The Ciera shared its front-wheel drive A-body platform with the Buick Century, the Pontiac 6000, and the Chevrolet Celebrity, and through the mid-1980s, it became a genuinely strong seller in its own right, consistently the second most popular A-body behind the Celebrity, and ahead of its Buick and Pontiac platform mates in most years. Its four-cylinder and optional V6 engines gave buyers a practical, predictable mid-size sedan and wagon that asked for almost nothing and delivered exactly what it promised. The Cutlass Ciera is at number 6 because it quietly outsold most of the cars people actually remember from the decade, proof that the most common car on the road is often the one nobody thinks to mention. Number 5. Honda Accord. By 1988, there was a good chance the most reliable car on your street wasn't American. It was the Honda Accord parked in your neighbor's driveway, the one that seemed to need fewer repairs than anything else on the block, the one that seemed to keep starting on cold mornings when many domestic competitors wouldn't. The Accord's growth through the decade represents one of the most significant shifts in American car buying behavior of the era. Millions of lifelong domestic buyers trading in for Japanese imports and staying there once they saw how few repair bills followed, even if the rear wheel arches completely rusted away around them. The 1989 Accord sedan, near the close of the decade, reflected a car that had moved from curiosity to mainstream family choice. The Accord is at number 5 because it documents, more clearly than any other car on this list, the moment American buyers started choosing reliability over the badge on the hood. Number 4. Chevrolet Celebrity. Pull into a supermarket parking lot in 1986, and chances are several Chevrolet celebrities were already sitting in it. Tan, white, or that unmistakable GM blue, often complete with a sagging headliner held up by thumbtacks, so common that most Americans had stopped noticing them entirely. That is precisely what made 1986 such a remarkable year for a car nobody remembers today. It was America's best-selling car, full stop, in a year when buyers had every domestic and import competitor to choose from instead. The Celebrity was built on GM's A-body platform alongside the Cutlass Ciera, the Pontiac 6000, and the Buick Century, and it was consistently the strongest seller of the four. A front-wheel drive sedan and wagon that offered competent, predictable performance without any pretense of excitement. The 1986 Celebrity sedan, the model year of its peak sales, represents the car at the height of its market dominance. The Celebrity is at number 4 because being America's best-selling car and being almost entirely forgotten 30 years later is one of the strangest gaps in how this decade gets remembered. Number 3. Chevrolet Cavalier. Drive past any high school parking lot in 1985, and the Chevrolet Cavalier was probably the single most common car in it. The first car for thousands of newly licensed teenagers, the rental car at every airport counter, the sensible choice for the retiree trading down from something bigger. It was a car defined just as much by its notoriously peeling clear coat paint as its unmatched sales sheets. It achieved something the more celebrated cars of the decade never managed, America's best-selling car in both 1984 and 1985, 2 consecutive years outselling every other automobile regardless of size, brand, or origin. The Cavalier's J-body platform underpinned sedans, coupes, hatchbacks, wagons, and convertibles, putting it in driveways across every demographic the GM dealer network could reach. Families bought it, students bought it, rental companies bought entire fleets of it. The 1984 Cavalier sedan, from the peak of its dominance, represents the car the largest number of American buyers actually chose. The Cavalier is at number 3 because back-to-back years atop the sales charts is a level of saturation few cars in history have matched, and almost none get remembered for it the way the Cavalier deserves. Number 2. Ford Escort. If you were handed the keys to your first car in the 1980s, there is a surprisingly good chance those keys belonged to a Ford Escort, your own family's, a friend's older siblings, or the one sitting in the high school driver's ed lot with a second brake pedal bolted to the passenger floor. You saw Escorts every single day without registering that you were seeing them, which is exactly the point. The Escort dominated sales across multiple years of the decade, ranking as America's top-selling car on more than one occasion during a run very few nameplates in American automotive history have matched. Sold as a hatchback, a wagon, and a sedan, it gave Ford a configuration for nearly every buyer who needed basic, affordable front-wheel drive transportation, powered by a buzzing CVH engine with that unforgettable lifter chatter. The 1985 Escort, roughly at the midpoint of its long run, represents the car most broadly recognizable to anyone who lived through the decade. The Escort is at number 2 because its sustained sales dominance across nearly the full decade makes it one of the most genuinely common automobiles 1980s America ever produced. Yet, as dominant as the front-wheel drive Escort was at the gas pump, the absolute king of the 1980s Boulevard was a heavy, rear-wheel drive throwback that nobody wanted to let go. Number 1. Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Ask an American who was driving in 1982, 1983, or 1984 what car they remember seeing most often, and the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme will be among the first answers. Not the Camaro, not the Mustang, not the Corvette, but the Cutlass. It was in the driveway next door. It was the car your uncle was proud of. It was the car idling outside the diner, the bowling alley, the high school football game on a Friday night in numbers that no muscle car or sports car of the decade ever came close to matching. The Cutlass Supreme appealed to buyers who wanted a comfortable, attractively styled mid-size car without the price premium of a full-size Buick or Cadillac. Its legendary 307 V8 option gave it broad appeal, while its plush velour seats and formal, slightly upscale styling set it apart from the more utilitarian compacts crowding the sales charts. The 1983 Cutlass Supreme Coupe, from the heart of its sales dominance, represents the car the largest number of American buyers actually chose to drive home. The Cutlass Supreme is at number 1 because it was, by sheer driveway ubiquity, the defining American car of the early 1980s, the daily driver an entire generation remembers seeing everywhere because it genuinely was.